No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
On a night where defense was optional, it's the defense that comes up huge for the Winnipeg Jets in a 5-4 overtime victory over the Washington Capitals. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Along with Dave Manouk, along with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss what was certainly one of the more entertaining games of the season. You knew that the hype coming into it was the top team against the second place team. Would the hype match the pregame publicity? Would the action on the ice match it up? It did, ladies and gentlemen, in a tremendous hockey game between the Jets and the Capitals. Josh Morrissey getting the winner for the Jets in overtime. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Great to see you on the regular screens now that we worked through the technology bugs that we had this morning. But a hell of a hockey game tonight between the Jets and the Capitals.
Absolutely, boys. And PLD scores a goal. Alexander Ovechkin scores a goal, but the Jets still win. So obviously, the Jets aren't going to like that they gave up the 2-goal lead in the third period, but I mean, the stat was mentioned. The Capitals have come back, 18 times this year in the third period, something like that, 18 or 19 times. And the Jets are now 21-0-2 when leading after 2 periods. So it was a little bit in danger there, boys. But you're absolutely right, Drew. This game lived up to its billing. Sometimes, guys, you get a dud, when it's a top 2 matchup or, the best team in a division versus another best team in a division. But this game really had everything. And I thought that, the Jets, especially in the first period, were just playing exactly how they are when they're successful, right? And, you love that first period. And even the second period, even though the Caps made it a 1-goal game there in the second period, I still liked the Jets game. They score another goal on the power play, obviously. I really liked the third line tonight. And we'll get into the second line, obviously, and we'll get into the overtime goal in the Play Now game recap. But, and I'll give Dave credit because Dave has been talking about him since the beginning of the season. Rasmus Kupari. Like, you forget guys like Adam Lowry is out of the lineup, and that's a big hole up the middle. So I was really impressed by Kupari's game. There's a lot of guys I was impressed by tonight. Obviously, maybe not Hellebuck's best night, but last time I checked, guys, Hellebuck is human. So sometimes he can let in 4 goals. And let's not forget that Logan Thompson came into this game with the exact same save percentage at .927 as Hellebuck, right, Dave? And he let in 5 goals. So this was just like games like this. It's just so much fun to do the post-game show, right? Because there's so much to talk about. The Jets, I thought, we're just playing a very confident game, guys. Like, that's what it seemed like to me, especially in the first period, going up a couple goals on the Capitals. Yeah. They're just playing with a ton of confidence. Obviously, the power play is a huge part of it. But I just thought they stuck to their game. And obviously, in the third period, Nemesnikov had a good chance right off the bat, right, guys? And then Morrissey ends it. And I thought that was fitting because 44 was just excellent tonight.
You know what? This was first of all, I'm ecstatic that we're all in the same view. I'm ecstatic that you guys sound so and look so good. So it's welcome back to a normal this is still the 16th anniversary. We didn't do post-game shows when we started things off at Red River Radio. When I say we, of course, because it was
you're a key member of the team.
Hey, easy. I was illegalcurve.com back then, Drew. Loyal to the thing that got us started in 2007.
Just as an aside, it's crazier. It's crazier to me that Dave has been on the hockey show longer than Richie. Like, I'm not sure when that happened.
That was already
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Richie. I don't even remember that guy. But the point is that no, it's nice that we're obviously able to bring. Well, we appreciate having so many folks in the chat this morning and everybody sticking around. We were talking about that before we got this underway. So thanks to everyone who stuck around and waited for us to get things worked out. And thanks a lot for joining us tonight. But yeah, that was a heck of a hockey game, and that was a hell of a first period by the Winnipeg Jets. And I thought to myself, like, ooh, this is this the way this is going to go? Because that's probably not necessarily as dominant given the opponent as we've seen the Jets.
That was the best first period, I think, of the year. Contextually, given the opponent, given everything else. I mean, it was an incredible first period.
Yeah, and they showed the graphic after. I mean, the Jets, in terms of shot, I think the shot attempts were like 31-8 or something like. It was something unbelievable. So the Jets
the Capitals look really slow, I thought, in the first period.
I honestly, Ovechkin, who I really didn't think he was that noticeable in the hockey game, to be honest with you.
Except until he scored, he wasn't really that noticeable at all.
Yeah, he had the one chance on the power play. I think was that in the first period, Drew, but or second period, I guess. Maybe it was the power play was in the second for Washington.
Yeah,
but yeah,
the second period with Sandberg took the
Sandberg went in. So I just think it was he wasn't super noticeable, but ultimately it was going to be a good hockey game, and you knew that Washington wasn't going to go away. That it wasn't a grudge match. It wasn't that sort of thing. I really enjoyed all the insight I got in the first intermission from the panel. I mean, it was great. It was riveting.
I mean, let me just stop you for a second because
I'm gonna stop myself, and then let me just quickly finish my thought. Then you can jump into this thought. But the key I was gonna make is I understand Toronto, Edmonton, huge markets, huge. And again, I'm not even blaming them, but it's just this is the problem with the national broadcast because nobody in Winnipeg gives a shit about what's happening in Edmonton and Toronto. And I understand that nobody in Edmonton and Toronto gives a shit about what happens in Winnipeg and Washington. But the problem is it's just, you do 3 or 4 questions on that game. Then you do 2 just inane, not interesting remotely points about the Jets. And then you move on to somebody else. I wouldn't have cared if they would have done, a third for the Oilers and the Leafs, and then done the rest for the Jets and the Capitals. But then they went to I think they were talking about Minnesota and Ottawa. It just, I don't know. No offense. It just sucks. It's not interesting. And
ask yourself this. Ask yourself this. If this was an NFL game and it was the top 2 teams, regardless of the markets, last time I checked, Kansas City and Buffalo aren't the biggest markets in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
They find a way to make it about the teams that are playing at the highest level, not about the cities they represent. And that's been an NHL issue for years. They only care about the name, the city that's on the jersey, not the performance of the athletes on the ice. And again, tonight, I mean, and to your point, Dave, when every game is a national game, quote unquote, all that means is that no games are national games.
Right.
It just bastardizes.
Exactly. What does that even mean anymore? What does that? It doesn't
mean anything. It bastardizes the influence of a game like this by having it split up on 3 different networks. Now, the Rogers deal is almost up, mercifully.
Yeah,
I mean, so then they'll go back to the drawing board and rethink how they broadcast hockey in Canada.
Enter Netflix.
Well, whatever it might be, whatever it might be. Any other network in any other sport would find a way to make the first place team against the second place team a marquee game that draws attention and casual viewers to it. Sportsnet, Rogers, the NHL itself have screwed the pooch so heavily over all the years of this that none of these games actually have any significance beyond the cities that are playing in the games, and that's why they struggle when their local team is eliminated from the playoffs and out of contention.
And the only thing I would add, Drew, is that, and again, I'm not maligning the Leafs and the Oilers because they're the first place team and the first place team. So they are both very good hockey teams. And there's nothing wrong with coverage of them. And again, I understand the idea that they are drivers of, I see it. I know the markets that they drive. But again, it's just such a, it's such a waste of time. Don Cherry, I love Don Cherry. I grew up watching Don Cherry. Saturday Night Hockey to me was about Don Cherry. And
Rock'em sock'em hockey, baby.
No, it just was. I don't care. I understand that some people don't like him. They can choose not to like him. But the fact of the matter is that you didn't want to miss what he said. You didn't miss when he was on the broadcast. I didn't want to miss a word. It was the best. It was insightful. He was entertaining. And this is so boring. It really is. It's just boring. It's painful. You don't learn anything. It's superficial and it's boring. And honestly, it's unwatchable for the most part. I mean, every once in a while, you're like, okay, maybe they'll tell you something. I think it's crap.
Well, I want to hang on. I just saw this point somewhere here. I want to see if I can find it real quick. But it's absolutely right. And this is by Lanny Acut. Lanny says the game was in Edmonton. So any other market, what they would have done is they would have kept the Jets. And, the problem is they schedule these games, and God forbid you have to move the start time of a game to
flex a game.
Every other league can flex a game. The NHL is so rigid they can't think outside of the box at all. But you're absolutely right, Lanny, that given the fact that the Leafs and the Oilers were playing in Edmonton, which last time I checked is the Mountain Time Zone, they should have had that game be the 9:00 game. And I'm sorry that Toronto, you're going to have to stay up a little bit late. But if you're such diehard hockey fans, as we're told that you are, you'll stay up late and watch a game because everybody else always does. So that game should have been the 9:00 game. This game, the Jets and the Capitals, once they realized it was going to be between the two top teams in the NHL, should have been the 6:00 game. It doesn't take a lot of genius for scheduling. And if you want to keep the Wild and the Senators on one of the Sportsnet channels, go ahead. Don't have a problem with that. Nobody cares. But give the national market to the Jets and the Capitals, top in the league, second place in the league. Then go 9:00 Leafs and Oilers, because that's going to be a damn good hockey game that I would watch. You think I'm going to go watch the Flames and the Red Wings? Why the hell would anybody in their right mind watch the Flames and the Red Wings
unless you're in Calgary or Detroit?
Right. Exactly right. So figure out a way to bring the best games to your national audience, and the audience will follow. It's not rocket science.
And then they wonder why they're struggling.
Not being rigid. And
then they wonder why they're struggling and they can't make any money and they have to fire half their crew.
Boys, I'm just loving this. This is like old school back in the TSN 1290 days when Drew would go on his cold rants. Go, Drew. The chat is fired up. They're loving it. I love it.
It's just not that difficult. I mean, it's just not that difficult. You want to cater, every other league caters to television. Every other league bends over for whatever television wants them to do, except for the NHL, where instead they just, throw everything at the wall and say, good luck. And then they wonder why nothing matters on television. It just doesn't make any logical sense. But then again, that's the NHL for the last 20 years. Logical sense has not played a strong role for a long time.
And I guess absolutely. No, go ahead, Dave.
No, as I'm just going to end my Spency, thank you. But I was going to say, like, to me, the end point that I would have is just, it's unwatchable, right? Like I wanted to give it a chance. And like I said, I was texting with Dan and I was like, and Dan Robertson, not Dan, my brother, who's also in the chat right now, but shout out Dan. But the fact of the matter is that my brother, not Dan Robertson, but
I'll give it. Dan Robertson might be in the chat too. He's under a pseudonym.
He does some night off tonight, right? I'll give a shout out to Dan Robertson and Dan Manouk. How about that?
There you go. But I again, to me, it's like I said, I enjoy the TSN broadcasts. We don't have to love Bell Media so much, of course. We have a history there, but I do enjoy the TSN broadcast, and I just find that as soon as the game's on Sportsnet, it's like you got anything better to do with your time. That's just
our
the way
audience
I feel.
jumps. We appreciate it. Our audience goes up when the game's on Sportsnet because nobody wants to watch their post game coverage. So we appreciate that.
Also, I don't know what Charlie's talking about. Drew's 75 years old, so I'm not sure what Charlie's talking about.
Alrighty. That was good. We got that off our chest. We all feel better about ourselves. It was a hell of a hockey game. Let's get back to the actual game itself between the Jets and the Capitals, because you knew that it was going to be, when the Jets, there was a great first period, but I frankly didn't think they were going to be able to shut down Washington for the entirety of their game. Washington's a damn good team, and you got to see that as the game went on, just how good they are, how deep they are. They have a lot of depth up front and on their back end, similar to the Jets, by the way. And really, everything about this was one of those games where you'd be glad to pay your money to have watched it.
Absolutely. And I thought, guys, as the game progressed, like from, let's say, the second period on, I thought that the physicality of the Capitals really took over, right? Like we saw Logan Stanley take a big hit behind the net by Alex Ovechkin, but then we saw Brandon Duhaime absolutely paste Dylan DeMello behind the net. Like
Matt Roy on Cole Perfetti.
Yeah. And I mean, going into this game, guys, obviously, we know about Tom Wilson. Not only can he score goals, but this is a physical player, right? But, even a guy like Jacob Chychrun, Nick Dowd, like, this is a team that I think is built very nicely for the playoffs. Like, they're going to be tough to beat in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, there's some other good teams in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to throw my Devils into that mix. Carolina now went out and added Rantanen. So don't get me wrong, it's not going to be an easy road to the Stanley Cup final for the Capitals, but that's one thing that I noticed. The physicality I thought was starting to take a toll a little bit on the Jets in the second and third periods. And Dave's right. I mean, you knew that the Capitals at home, after a long road trip, I think, what were they, 7 of 9 on the road, they had to come out with a big response in the second period. And they obviously did. And then the Jets pushed back. But, I mean, that's kind of what you expect out of two teams, right? Like, I don't think anybody necessarily expected the Jets to go into Washington and do what they did in the first period for 3 periods, right? So, really impressive that the Jets were able to overcome the 2 goals that were scored by the Caps in the third period. And just overall, I think, there's some things that you'd like to clean up. Like, I thought that the Jets were caught a little bit flat-footed and puck watching a little bit on some of the goals tonight, right? But again, give the Capitals credit. They turned on the Jets in the second half of this game. But what a Stanley Cup final this would be. Like, again, we're getting a little bit too far ahead of ourselves, but like, would anybody be surprised if these two teams end up in the Stanley Cup finals the way they played tonight?
No, I think I would say not. There's clearly the real contenders, and then those who are the pretenders that are still going to be playoff teams. And we sort of know who is who, and there's no question which of the 2 categories of the Jets and the Capitals fall into. These are contending hockey teams. It's not to say that they're going to make it all the way there, because it's such a struggle and a grind and a battle just to get there. But you can certainly say without any question that night in, night out, these are 2 of the more entertaining hockey teams who play a good brand, who have identities, who know how to win games, and then demonstrated it on the ice tonight. And the goaltending, which is usually the hallmark of both of these teams, was not necessarily up to snuff tonight. It happens. Goaltenders, like you said, Ezzy, off the start, are human too. But anytime, if you're the Winnipeg Jets and you can say Connor Hellebuyck had an off night, and he had an off night against the second best team in the NHL, and you still come away with the victory, you're going to be very happy with that result. I mean, I think Scott Arniel in his pregame comments today he sort of got his back up a little bit. If you read Paul Friesen's column or article in the Winnipeg Sun, which I'm sure is available on illegalcurve.com, it sounds like Arniel was presented with the argument that the Jets are a one-trick pony. That trick, or that pony, being Connor Hellebuyck. And Scott Arniel, rightfully so, got his hackles up a little bit and said, look, that just simply isn't the case.
That's also someone who clearly doesn't watch the Jets.
I was going to say, and also ask anybody on the Washington Capitals right now if the Jets are a one-trick pony.
Absolutely right. This was a bad journalistic, question, or an example of bad journalism by somebody in the Washington media. And I don't know who, so I'm not going to lay blame, but clearly that person, did no research and did no, and as a result, were put in their place by the Jets head coach, who said, no, it's frankly not the case. And it's a little bit insulting. Connor Hellebuyck is a key member of this team, but you saw it tonight. We have we have the best goal differential in the NHL. That's not strictly on the goalie. That's also on our great 5-on-5 offense. That's on our great power play. That's on the great contributions from our defensemen, who got 6 points for the Winnipeg Jets in tonight's game. So whomever that person was made an error. It happens to the best of us, but it also gave Scott Arniel the opportunity to pump up his team a little bit and give them a little bit of a boost, saying, hey, back up with that line of questioning. Connor Hellebuyck might be a Hart Trophy nominee and a Hart Trophy candidate, but guess what? Josh Morrissey might be a Norris Trophy candidate, and Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor might be Rocket Richard, in the running for Rocket Richard.
That's what I'm
trophies.
saying. So it's ludicrous for anybody. Like, guys, the season is almost 2/3 over. It's not like this isn't the 15-1 start to the season Jets. Right? Like, we talked about this on this morning's show, right? Like, the Jets record since early December is it not second best in the league?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, if anybody isn't, like, again, I realize we're a Jets centric show. We try to stay level headed. Trust me. This Jets team is really good and sometimes is borderline scary good. They've won 6 games in a row now. They're first place in the NHL. They have a 3-point lead on the Capitals. They've got an 8-point lead on the second place team in the Central Division, the Dallas Stars, who, by the way, made a trade shortly after we went off air today. So I'm not sure if you want to get into that.
We'll talk about that after the Play Now game recap, but I don't like that trade for Dallas at all, really. I thought they gave up too much, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program. Yeah. But to your point, Ezzy, 10 points ahead of Dallas. Dallas has also been, I think, is tied with the Jets as the second best team in the league since December the 1st. So,
exactly.
And that just goes to show you how the fact that Jets are still 10 points ahead of them, and it's not like Dallas has been lousy. It's not like Dallas has been middling. They've been tremendous. They just can't catch up to the Winnipeg Jets because the Jets have been that good and were that good to start the year.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. And I think that's one of the things that people tend to forget. And the Jets had a bad stretch of 10 games. Like I said earlier this morning, Ezzy, they went 3-7 before turning things around. So the Jets have had, in 54 games, they had one stretch of 10 games that you don't like. But overall, the fact of the matter is this team has been, consistent. So for again, I often qualify whenever I talk about another team with an honest assessment. I always say, I watch the Jets. I know everything that's going on with the Jets. I know everything that's going on with the Moose. Although I'm not paying attention to the Moose right now because I'm doing the show, and apparently they're getting murdered. I've
they're
heard
down 5-0 or something.
They're getting schmiced. So it's a good thing I'm not paying attention. Chaz Lucius, I saw, is day to day. He must have gotten banged up in the last game.
They're taking a page out of the Minnesota Wild playbook tonight.
Well, the crazy thing about that Minnesota Wild game, Ezzy, was when I saw one of the guys who we follow who covers the Senators said the Senators had 50 shots in the game.
Yeah,
so
52-16,
and they won
for the
5-0
shots in that game, and they won 6-0. And Ryan Hartman apparently found out you're not allowed to DDT your opponent into the ice. That's against the rules. I had no idea that you can't DDT. I think it was Stützle. I'm pretty sure
it was Stützle.
Yeah, you can't DDT Tim Stützle into the ice and not expect to get punished for that.
Drew, don't get me going on Ryan Hartman again. I haven't hated a player as much as Ryan Hartman since Sean Avery.
Well, if it's any consolation, I'm sure the NHL and the Department of Player Safety will come down hard on him and suspend him for 3 games for trying to drive a player's head through the ice.
Should that not be 5 or 6 games, Drew, if not 10?
This is a repeat offender. I mean, if you go up 8 games on this one, I have no problem with that. You can't literally DDT.
I didn't see it.
It looked like it would not have looked out of place in the Royal Rumble, which is happening tonight. If a guy in the Royal Rumble did that, you would be like, okay, that's a legitimate wrestling play. Not legitimate in hockey on the ice.
I know that you're allowed to, maybe sometimes guys forget because you can actually fight in hockey. So you can punch a guy in the face, but DDT, that's next level. You probably shouldn't be doing.
Ryan Hartman is he's definitely no John Cena, Dave.
I was gonna say Jake the Snake Roberts, if I recall correctly, he used to do a big DDT. He was a big DDT.
That was his
guy,
finishing
right?
move. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. But
either that or Damien the Snake would bite somebody.
What was his second snake? Damien died. What was the name of Jake the Snake's second snake?
Sorry, Dave, you're on your own on that one. Chat, this is where we need you to come in.
I feel like
for Dave on this one, folks.
I don't remember. No, I to be honest, I don't remember the name. I just remember that there was Damien, and then he had a second snake.
Well, that's why I'm asking the chat. The chat will help out. Well, the chat will get the answer to that while we get into the Play Now game recap, because there's a lot of goals we got to go through. 9 of them. There's over 450 of you here live tonight watching the Illegal Curve post-game show, watching my blood pressure skyrocket in front of everybody on a live national television audience here, because the Oilers and the Leafs are also, I'm sure, doing something of very big interest in any event. Smash the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We do this after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And while you're at it, make sure your notifications are on so you get alerted each and every time we go live.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly.
T-Kona Paulie come through. It was Lucifer, Dave.
There we go. Good one.
I knew the chat would be able to. I knew the chat had the answer. There's no question that the chat was going to come through like you always do for us here on the program.
Lucifer is also Dave and I's nickname for Drew.
That's true. That's and that's actually the nickname you give me when you're nice to me, when you're being complimentary towards me. Otherwise, it's a lot meaner. In any event, we talked extensively about that great first period for the Winnipeg Jets. They came out just with a tremendous performance. High danger chances after the first period were 7-1 in the Jets' favor. Expected goals in that first period, 87% to 12% for the Winnipeg Jets. Just an absolute dominant first period, and they were rewarded by getting 2 goals in that first period, the first of which came on the power play. As Ishaboy Bruce is calling me Drucifer instead of anything else. So you guys can steal that from now on if you want. I think, in fact, I believe my family members have called me that once or twice before. Cole Perfetti, he gets his 11th of the year. Another good, solid game from Cole Perfetti. Just tremendous watching him sort of elevate his game over the last 2 weeks or thereabouts.
Ever since he became the prick.
Since he became the prick, he's really shown it, and he's winning those board battles. He's noticeable even when he's not on the score sheet, and that is so huge for him. We talked about that, Dave, I think on Thursday's post-game show after the Jets schmeiced the Bruins. So Perfetti gets his 11th of the year, assist to Nemesnikov and Neil Pionk, and again, for the second straight game, it's not the Jets' top power play unit that's scoring for the power play, for the league-leading power play. It's the second unit. There's, again, not a lot of flash to this. It's just a solid net drive by Vlad Nemesnikov. It starts with, the behind the Winnipeg Jets zone. Neil Pionk takes the puck up, the draw pass to Nemesnikov. We've seen it 1,000 times before. Nemesnikov is just able to gain the zone. He's able to get the shot off, and then Cole Perfetti is driving hard to the net. John Carlson is there. I believe it's Trevor Van Riemsdyk is also there for the Capitals, neither of whom get a stick on Perfetti, and he's able just to bat the rebound past Logan Thompson. It's towards the net. It's into the dirty areas. It's effective, and it's a 1-0 Winnipeg Jets lead, Ezzy.
Yeah, no, I think your breakdown of that goal was really good, Drew. And, the only thing I would add is, I love the fact that Nemesnikov starts this play in his own zone, and he kind of just weaves in and out. And like you said, the Capitals were flat-footed, right? Like they were kind of just standing around a little bit watching. It was Carlson and Fehérváry who were the deep pairing, if I'm not mistaken. And like it just seemed like they kind of were kind of just going back, like sitting back a little bit too much. And it's a good shot by Nemesnikov. And then, Perfetti comes in from the left wing and just cleans up the rebound, right? Like just goes to the net. And we had some comments up there earlier, and you mentioned it, Drew, like Perfetti is playing with more of a snarl, right? Like he's playing with more determination. Like you can just tell, like he's not being passive. He's getting in on the forecheck. He's disrupting plays. Like he's a smart. That was the thing that we always knew about Cole Perfetti, was that obviously he had the offensive ability, put up the 100+ point season in the OHL, but we knew he was smart. And like that's what I saw. That what I saw too out of this line today, guys, just as an aside, obviously Perfetti and Nemesnikov connect on the power play goal, but what I saw with this line at 5-on-5 is I saw a line when they're playing in close proximity to each other. I thought they were really feeding off each other, right? Because they can do the drop passes and they can weave in and out of tight spaces and just putting the shot on net, and then someone goes and gets the rebound, right? Like there's been a lot of, I would use the word synchronicity between the three. I thought tonight, like, and again, we talked about it earlier, arguably their best game of the year. But yeah, I mean, just nice to see the second power play unit contribute again. And like you said, Drew, not a very complicated goal, but like give Nemesnikov credit here on the zone entry and just being patient and kind of seeing that the Capitals are sitting back there, Dave. And, he goes to the middle of the ice, puts the puck on net. Cole Perfetti goes where he should go and cleans up the garbage.
Well, okay, so I'm not going to go over the goal because you guys just did, but there's a couple of things. When Cole Perfetti made the jump from junior to the American Hockey League, and of course did it in a year when he wasn't expected to, but was granted the exemption and was able to play, the thing that he did for the first 30 games or so was he played on the periphery, and he never went to the tough areas. We're seeing him more and more now in those tougher areas in the NHL. And I'm not saying it's like a new thing, but it's more consistent, I think. And that to me, throughout the course of this hockey game, Drew, not just obviously when they got the goal, but but like you said, when he's forechecking, he's more noticeable. He's doing things, and that's literally what he told us when we spoke to him during his, wanting to be more like a prick. I mean, won't that end up being like the line of the year if he goes on a heater? But I'm just saying that
the line of the year is the buddy show of Frickin' the Prick that I loved
that is
on
true.
that post.
That is fair enough. That's a good one. But it's just this idea that his game has changed. And look, it's one of the things that we talk about as goals become harder, as you get less power plays, as things ramp up towards the playoffs, is that your game needs to elevate, your game needs to change. Cole Perfetti's game is doing what it needed to do, which is changing like it needs to. And because of that, I'm not saying he's becoming a driver just yet, but he's becoming more noticeable and less of a passenger on that line. And that's significant, Ezzy.
You hear about this all the time, right? Like, it's a cliche in hockey. Like, you hear about straight lines, right? Like, play like a straight line game, right? And to me, that's exactly to your point, Dave, right? Like, you're not seeing him kind of curl off to the side and kind of slow plays down. Like, what you're seeing is his roots have changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not to get too technical here, but like, that's what I'm seeing out of this line. Like, before, kind of what you were seeing with this line is like, there was a little bit too much to the outside. You weren't seeing them driving the net. And that's what I saw out of this, that there's more, I think, of there's more the game plan.
Determination to get in front of the net is what, and a refusal to be denied to get there. That's what you're seeing from them. They used to be more of a perimeter line and now they're more of a, direct blue paint. That's where we're going kind of line.
Right. And the thing is, Drew, like what I like is that it's not like you didn't see the skill on display. It's not like, it's not like Scott Arniel has asked them to be a checking line. No, that's not it. What they're trying to do is get the most out of this line. Mm-hmm. And the more and more you watch the success of this line, again, Chevy might go out and acquire a second line center. There's a strong possibility that's going to happen. But if they continue to play like this, you wonder, do they really need one? And I think most people would answer that question, yes. But like, look at who, they beat a good Montreal team. Montreal's been a great story this year. Boston obviously is a bit of a mess. They just beat the second best team in the league, right? And they were a big part of that win. So all I'm saying is, we criticize the second line and we're saying that we need more out of the second line. Well, they've stepped up.
Yeah. Well, and Drew, before I know you're going to get going, but I think we're going to end up, we shorted everyone about half an hour this morning, and it looks like we're going to more than make up for it based on the length of time it's going to take us to get through this Illegal Curve postgame show.
Don't worry, everybody.
Guys, let's do it. I have nothing. What else do I have to do? I have nothing else to do. Let's go 2 hours tonight.
Well, we'll see about that. Some of us might have other things to do, but that's okay. In any event, yes, exactly right. We're just getting into it. 32 and a half minutes or so into the Illegal Curve post-game show. This is the Play Now game recap. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn your notification bell on so you'll be alerted on Tuesday night when we go live after the Jets and the Carolina Hurricanes, and then again on Friday when we go live at 12 noon for a special lunch hour edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, and then the post-game show following the Jets and the Islanders. So the key is make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Jets make it 2-0, 3 minutes and 28 seconds later. Dylan Samberg, the first of the three goals that comes, three goals that come from defensemen in tonight's game. It's Dylan Samberg, his fourth of the year, assist to Cole Perfetti and Vlad Nemesnikov. And again, not flashy. This is a goal that Logan Thompson wants to have back, I can assure you of that. But it's about winning the puck retrievals. Right. Frankly, Nemesnikov should have scored before Samberg gets the opportunity. He sort of missed on what appeared to be a wide open net, but he doesn't hang his head. He goes and he wins a puck battle. Perfetti goes and he wins a puck battle. He gets the puck over to Samberg. Samberg lets the shot go from the point. I don't know if Thompson saw all of it. I have to assume he didn't. It looked like Dubois was a little bit in the line of sight. But whatever it is, Dave, the important part is the Jets did the right things, the little things, to get up 2-0, to take a 2-0 lead. And, of course, that's where the first period ended, with the Jets up 2-0.
Well, it's funny, Drew, because you're right. Vlad Nemesnikov very easily could have scored with that little wraparound attempt, and they didn't. But you like the persistence. You like the fact that the Jets kept on coming. And, as we talked about earlier about Dylan Samberg and the type of contract he could earn himself. Well, if he's going to add the offense to his game, let me tell you, it's going to be an even bigger one. But like they highlighted it. I mean, I will give them credit. Some of the things that they did do well in the broadcast, they gave you those fun factoids. 25, 6-1 when Dylan Sandberg is in the lineup. So is that good? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. As I kind of sensed where you were going with that. I stole your "is that good" for Twitter, but I mean, one of the things that we know is just how good he's been for Neil Pionk. And how stabilizing a force. Let me tell you, you know what Dylan Sandberg's done for Neil Pionk? Made him a boatload of money. Yeah. He's made him a lot of money this year because a lot of the stability that pairing has achieved this season is, of course, because of what 54 is doing. But I agree, it's not the best goal on Thompson. I don't know if Ehlers took away the line of sight brief enough, to kind of interfere with him because it doesn't really show it on the replay. But the point is, for my money, especially in that first period, I thought that line was excellent. I thought the line was excellent throughout the game, I should say, but I just thought that there was an attack mentality that they had, and there wasn't, a holdback. But yeah, Ehlers may have taken away his eyes just enough so Stamberg was able to snap it in. But Ezzy, I mean, he, again, what are the things that you've been asking for from him? It's maybe a little bit more offense because we know the defense is already pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, there was definitely some traffic in front, but what I like most, and Drew touched on it, like what I like is that you've got Nemesnikov who gets a good chance in front, and then what happens? Perfetti digs up the puck, gets it back to Sandberg. Then you see Perfetti go to the net. Ehlers is at the net. Like, again, this is the type of hockey the Jets need to play to be successful. Like, you would love to see odd man rushes and 5 or 6 breakaways a game. And everybody likes to see when Ehlers picks up the puck in his own zone and puts the rocket skates on and then goes into the offensive zone and does a couple circles. Like, everybody loves to see that, but oftentimes that type of hockey isn't available to you, right? And the Washington Capitals, we talked about it. Not only can they score a lot of goals, they're a good defensive team. I just thought that the game plan, that's the type of game plan you have to have against a team like the Washington Capitals. And I thought that the second line just illustrated the type of hockey that you have to play. Like, it was just jump on pucks, turn the pucks over, go to the net, right? And, they were rewarded. So you love to see Slamberg score a goal. I just was like, again, you guys know me, I'm honest. Like, I was just blown away at how well the Nemesnikov line was playing because of the struggles that they've had throughout the year. So again, if this is a sign of things to come, look out rest of the NHL, because now you've got you're back to having 4 good lines. Like, you didn't have that for how long, guys, was the Scheifele, Connor, Velarde line really carrying the Jets at 5-on-5, and then you had the power play that was obviously scoring every single game, including tonight, right? So if that second line is clicking like this, obviously you don't expect the line to score 2 or 3 goals every single night, but they were really impressive, I thought, tonight.
They certainly were. 2-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. So you wonder, second period set to begin, how is Washington going to respond after, I'm sure, playing one of their poorer periods in recent memory? And they responded quickly. Pierre-Luc Dubois, he gets the goal for the Capitals. It's a minute 12 into the second period. And frankly, it's just a little bit too easy for him. He gets to gain the Jets zone without a lot of people trying to arrest his speed. He was carrying the puck really from the hash marks of the Capitals' own zone. He skates it all the way in. Morrissey and DeMello are the D pairing. Connor and Scheifele are in a trail position. He gets it over to McMichael, then Carlson gets the shot, and Dubois is there to clean up the garbage. So a nice play by Pierre-Luc Dubois, credit where credit is due, but the Jets were too soft on this one. They were trailing the play. Dubois was able to get too much time, too much space, too much room on the ice to get into the Jets zone without being encumbered by any member of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, like, this is just, first off, Dubois does an excellent job on the original zone entry, kind of backing the Jets off. But you're right, Drew. I mean, there's just, look, it's the Jets' top line and the Jets' top D pair out there, and there's just a little bit too much standing around. Like, Morrissey goes out to challenge John Carlson, and there's just nobody like Dylan DeMello and Mark Scheifele are kind of just to the side of the net, not really doing much, right? So, like, again, quick goal, that's the type of response that you want if you're the Capitals and you're down 2 goals at home, right? But look, it happens to the best teams. The Jets are the best team in the NHL right now, and they caught. You kind of just have to simplify it, Dave, and say they kind of got caught kind of just a little bit sleepy there. I'm sure Scott Arniel and the coaching staff would see the same thing, right? Like they would just, I mean, it's not like, they have the numbers back. It's just a battle in front of the net, and Dubois is obviously a big boy, and he kind of just goes in there like Drew said, and he bull in a china shop, and he just jumps on that puck and buries the rebound.
I think the key for me is that when you look at this Jets team, you want to know it's not going to always be the Mark Scheifele line that wins the game for you. It's not going to always be Connor Hellebuck that wins the game for you, and it's not always going to be the power play. That's what makes the Jets a more dangerous team, is that they have other ways to win. And I know that sounds obvious, but I didn't think the first line played a particularly strong game tonight, and I didn't think Connor Hellebuck had a particularly strong game. So when two of those three kind of lethal elements for your club, and again, the expectation is those are your big guns. They're going to be the things that lead you along. But when they're not going well, then for you to be able to be the type of team that can have those other elements, the depth, step up and be players for you, it's huge. Now getting into this goal, Mark Scheifele, that was the key mistake on this one, because Scheifele gets the puck on a stick briefly, and there's no urgency. And if he gets a better, more aggressive clear, he maybe gets that puck out of the danger zone. Unfortunately for him, it's on a stick for a fraction of a section too long. McMichael knocks it back into the middle, and then the Capitals make them pay. So yeah, again, like I said, you don't love the play, especially because of just the idea that it gives them life, right? I think what was it, a minute 12 into the period, Drew?
That's right.
So
minute 12.
Yeah, so it's one of those plays that gives a team, especially like we didn't look at the numbers, but if you break down the numbers after that first period, as the shots were 31-8, shot attempts were 31-8. The offensive zone time was like 5.5 minutes, 6 minutes to like 3. So the fact of the matter is the Jets played a dominant first period.
Could have been 3 or 4-0 easily.
Absolutely. They had a number of chances that they weren't able to bury, but the fact of the matter is that, they didn't have a great start to the period, and then they of course give up that goal, which gives the Capitals that life.
Yeah, exactly right. The Caps get the goal, but the Jets respond real quick. It takes them a little bit less than 3 minutes to respond. Alex Iafallo gets the goal here. It's a tip of a Neil Pionk shot. And again, David Gustafsson, he doesn't get a point here, but he starts with a solid net drive, gets the shot on Thompson, and then the Jets retrieve the puck well. It's just that simple. It's, you see, I'm watching the replay, Gustafsson, then Iafallo wins a puck battle. He sends it back to, I guess, Parker Ford over to Sandberg to Pionk, and then Iafallo goes in front of the net, and he gets the tip on the puck. At first, my first watching of it, I didn't see the tip, and I was like, ooh, that's a bit of a stinky goal. But then on the replay, you can see that Iafallo is the one who redirects it. And again, this is 3 goals now for the Winnipeg Jets in this game. Not one of the 3 have been highlight reel. Not one of the 3 have been pretty. What they've been is workmanlike. They've been effective, just hard work, puck retrieval, back to the point, shot, deflection, shot, rebound, shot, whatever, into the back of the net. And that's, again, a simple way to play, but certainly an effective way for the Winnipeg Jets to continue to play as they did tonight, taking a 3-1 lead on this goal, Iafallo's 7th of the year.
Yeah, Drew, you just mentioned it's simple but effective, right? Like it's winning hockey, right? And that's the thing, right? Like you don't love the fact that Washington got that early goal in the second period and there were a lot of guys on the Jets standing around. But the fact is then the Jets respond 3 minutes later and then they regain their 2-goal lead, right? So that's the key. You're absolutely right. And look like maybe Parker Ford might have a 2-game point streak going there, boys. Yeah. But I got to say,
I got the 3rd assist on the goal.
Yeah, exactly. I love the way he's playing. I know Dave M probably feels like a proud father watching Parker Ford go from the Moose to the Jets. But like the guy is doing what you want out of a 4th-line guy who's in the lineup because of injuries, right? Like he's throwing I don't know how many hits he ended up with. I counted at least a couple hits in the game. And he's providing energy.
Was credited with 3 hits in
the course of
tonight's game.
There you go. And that's what you want, right? Like Parker Ford might have been a goal scorer for Providence, Dave, but he's not playing a top 6, top 9 role for the Jets. He's playing a fourth line role where we always talk about this. And I know, Dave, you talked to Mark Morrison about this. Like, those bottom lines, what you want is you want the puck in the other team's zone. So Drew mentioned David Gustafsson. He created the turnover. Was it John Carlson before the goal? I think it was the pressure on John Carlson, right? So Gustafsson continues his really strong play. You just love to see it. And that's when the Jets have been the most successful, guys, is when you're getting contributions from all lines. Again, we sound like a broken record here, but you're going to run into problems, Dave, if you're just relying on one or two lines. And there was a stretch this season where, the Jets were relying too much on the Scheifele line or the Lowry line for a lot of their offense. And obviously, depending a little bit too dependent on the power play. But yeah, Drew's right. This is a very workmanlike goal. And, it's a goal that Logan Thompson doesn't have a lot of chance on. And, again, got to give Iafallo credit, right? Like, he's been on the third line. He's been on the fourth line. He's been on the second line. And he continues to contribute.
Well, the only thing I wanted to add was a couple of things. Number one, David Gustafsson, you're right. I mean, first of all, Drew, he's the one who intercepts that puck and creates the offensive zone sort of pressure. And then also gets the screen. And I love to talk about the guys who screen in front as, because they don't ever, especially when they don't pick up an assist, they're doing the big work and they end up getting that. And the other thing with Parker Ford, the one play that was super noticeable for me, at least, was when he took that hit along the boards, but to ensure that the puck got out of the Jets' end. That's the kind of stuff that keeps you in the lineup. They mentioned it on the broadcast. To me, that's the kind of play that is noticeable to his teammates, noticeable to Scott Arniel, and noticeable to us, obviously, is that he is a guy who's willing to he got popped pretty good, but he got the puck out. And that was the key play from Parker Ford from me tonight. And there were a couple other instances where I thought he made some nice plays, but that's the one that really caught my eye, that I was like, okay, that's the kind of stuff you need to do to show your coach you're willing to take that hit to get that puck out.
Exactly right. So 3-1 for the Winnipeg Jets at that point. Capitals respond, and you can see you're getting into the back and forth part of the game. You can see that the Washington's got their skating legs underneath them, and now it's going to be a fun hockey game. This one was a weird one. 51 seconds later, Taylor Radish, his 5th of the year, assist to Matt Roy. The only one who seemed to know that the puck went in the net was Radish himself. Everyone else was sort of standing around wondering where this puck was. Again, not Connor Hellebuck's best game, not his finest performance of the season. A number of these goals, I would argue, are goals that he would want back. This would, include this one. It's a good shot, but it's a goal that Connor Hellebuck does. You never want to get beat short side. You never want to let in this kind of goal, but he does nonetheless. And it's a 3-2 game at this point in time, and that's where the second period would end, of course, with the Jets still having that 3-2 lead.
Yeah, and guys, we didn't know until they showed the angle from behind the net that the puck was stuck in the back of the net, right? Like, originally you're thinking, like, did this squeak by him low or what's going on? I actually thought that Lars Eller got away with a hook on Dylan DeMello. I'm not sure if you guys caught this live or if you've got the replay up there, but I thought, like, Eller goes in on the forecheck on DeMello, and I thought that he kind of got away with one, and you could tell that he kind of put his arms up a little bit. Just wanted to mention that. I thought that Lars Eller got away with one by kind of slowing up DeMello, which allowed Radish to come in and take the puck. But maybe that's just me. I don't like to, be the guy that's saying, that penalty should be called or this penalty should be called. But yeah, I mean, you can't spend too much time on it, guys. It's a bad angle goal, and Hellebuck had no clue, Dave, where the puck was.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Ez. I think it's one of those ones you just move. He, like we've talked about, Connor Hellebuck has been your ace in the hole the entirety of the season. He's been the heart, the Vezina. He's entitled to have a bad game every once in a while, and tonight was not a Monet or a Manet.
Neither of which for Connor Hellebuck tonight, that's for sure. 3-2, as I mentioned, after 40 minutes. The Jets get an early third period goal. The Capitals responded early in the second period. The Jets respond early in the third period. It's Josh Morrissey, his 6th of the year. Nice pass by Mark Scheifele. It's a strong forecheck that forces this turnover by Gabe Vilardi, and then Scheifele is able to intercept the pass attempt. The pass attempt was by Farivari of the Capitals defenseman after he gets the pass from Trevor Van Riemsdyk, from John Carlson, and Scheifele intercepts it, and he feeds Josh Morrissey out front. and Morrissey is able to walk in from the blue line. Maybe it's the shot of the game, but I might save that one for the overtime winner. We'll see. I'll decide in a minute or two.
Save it for the OT winner, Drew.
Okay, I'll save it for the OT winner, as he says. But, nice play by Velarde forcing the turnover. Nice pass by Scheifele. I'm not sure that he was intending it for Morrissey rather than for Kyle Connor. But nonetheless, it got onto the stick of a Winnipeg Jets player. Morrissey walks in and he wires it past Logan Thompson to give the Jets the insurance marker. 4-2, what you think is going to be the insurance marker. Time will tell that it wasn't that, after it's all said and done. But a nice play by Scheifele, a nice forecheck by Velarde, and a hell of a shot by Josh Morrissey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would normally, as I was watching this, I was literally saying to myself, well, not literally saying to myself, but I was
if you're
thinking,
talking to yourself, we need to stage an intervention quickly.
I would agree with that. But I was, I guess, thinking to myself, that's the backbreaker. I was thinking maybe we should get a bumper like Ginsburg's backbreaker or something, because an early goal like that in the third period.
Ginsburg's backbreaker is the pizzas you've been eating late at night.
Ezzy, it sounds like we need a chiropractic sponsor for that thing.
Well, it's funny. You guys know I've had a lot of back problems. So literally sometimes I do have a backbreaker myself. But I mean, an early goal in the third period, how often do teams score 5 goals on Connor Hellebuck? Dave just went really blurry there for a second. I'm not sure if that was me or his camera or something was going on there, Dave, but you're freaking me out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously, good pressure by Velarde. And that's something that, we've talked about often with this line, right? Like when they're hunting the puck, they're putting pressure on the opposing team's defense. That's when they're at their best. And it's just, again, I know you're saying, Drew, maybe that was not scripted exactly like that, but that's just a hell of a play by Scheifele to get the puck to Morrissey there. And just a nice shot, right? Like it's a beautiful shot. And I thought Morrissey was like at his best. Like this was just vintage Morrissey. I know some people are criticizing. We'll get into the he was on for a couple of goals tonight, but I thought he was excellent. Obviously, we'll get to the OT winner in a second here, but that was a huge goal because obviously it gave them some breathing room. Washington had a great second period, right? So not much more to that than just the Jets' highly skilled players doing highly skilled things, right?
Yeah, the Capitals. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, and I'm with Ez in that regard, because normally the fact of the matter is that you look at a team, the Jets doing this to a team a minute 10 into the third period to give themselves a 4-2 lead, and you're like, well, Jets are putting this one into cruise control. But the thing that's worth mentioning, and we've mentioned it throughout the broadcast, but I will reiterate the point, this is a damn good Capitals hockey team. So you weren't expecting, because there was so much time left, I wasn't expecting. In fact, even when the Jets were up, I thought the game was going to go to OT. But, at the end of the day, nice. You like this, we have to point out the things that we see. We can't lie to you, people who are watching this show, and say, well, yeah, every play the Jets made was perfect, because of course they gave up 4 goals tonight. And it's not something we've seen, although I think, Drew, they maintain they're not allowing more than 30 shots in.
They did. I was waiting for you to mention that. I was gonna get that in.
Didn't the Caps have 29 shots?
29 shots, and the Jets. So the Jets held them under 30
I think it's 15
again.
now in a row.
Yeah,
so
15 games in a row where they've held their opponent under 30 shots.
Sure, and I mean, like I said, this is an instance where the play works, and it's a nice play by Mark Scheifele. And you're right, he probably was trying to hit Kyle Connor, but maybe he's not. Maybe he doesn't want Kyle Connor to catch him in the goals race. Maybe he wants to keep Kyle Connor behind him so he's like, I'll feed Josh Morrissey. He's my buddy, so I'll let him score.
Yeah, there you go. Jets now have the 2-goal lead, but here come the Capitals again. Tom Wilson, 6 minutes and 16 seconds later, he gets his 21st of the year. Still, people think of Tom Wilson as the headhunter and the guy who, has had a reputation for some inappropriate actions on the ice. Still a damn good hockey player, and he's a good goal scorer as well, evidenced by his 21st of the year. Assist to Dylan Strome, and boy, has he found a home in Washington. Matt Roy as well. Again, it's a little bit soft, the play by the Winnipeg Jets here. Roy just dumps it in. Nothing flashy about it. Just gets over center, dumps it into the corner. You see Strome go after it, and he bangs it around to Tom Wilson. Wilson with the shot, and then just gets his own rebound. He's able to get in front of Scheifele. He's able to get in front of Morrissey. So not great D-zone coverage by the Winnipeg Jets on this goal. But a nice play by Tom Wilson in just having a nose for the net. And really, that's almost the theme of all the goals tonight. with the exception of maybe the Ovechkin one, which we'll get to momentarily here, all the goals tonight have been about getting a nose to the net, getting close to the net, being in the right spot, close into the goalie, whether it be a tip, whether it be a rebound. Both teams showed why it's important to get that inside position, and success will come at that point in time.
Yeah, because these teams are just too good that you're not going to score a ton off the rush, right? Like there's not going to be a lot of odd man rushes. There just isn't going to be. I was really, and I talked about him before, and I don't want to bring up a sore spot because a lot of Jets fans were hoping that he would be acquired by the Jets, but I thought Jacob Chychrun was unbelievable tonight. He has dual. Does he not have dual citizenship? I'm not sure why he wasn't considered more so for Team Canada, but that's an aside. I mean, I think Chychrun would look great alongside Josh Morrissey at the Four Nations. But yeah, I mean, like to me, like Dave Dylan DeMello goes back to get the puck, and to me, like it's almost like he doesn't want to get crunched by Tom Wilson, and then Dylan Strome just goes to the net and Tom Wilson cleans up the goal. Like there was a lot of similarities between Wilson's goal and Dubois' goal, right? Like they just kind of stuffed the puck to the net.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like that's kind of what I was seeing a little bit, that the Capitals, like, look, like that line, right? The line is Dylan Strome, Alex Ovechkin, and Tom Wilson. Like that's a big line. Pierre-Luc Dubois, Alexei Protas, who's 6'5", 6'6", Connor McMichael. Like the Capitals are big and they're skilled. So I'm with Dave. Like, let's not, like, the Jets, obviously, they were up. They had a couple 2-goal leads, right? But like, let's give the Capitals credit here. They're at home. They're not going to go away quietly. But I think that's a case where you kind of got to do a little bit better of a job, kind of clearing the front of the net, right, Dave?
Yeah, no, like I said, you're not going to prevent all these chances. And Washington, in front of their home crowd, want to have a good. Like I said, we talked about it with Jeff O'Neill. I mean, this is a game that you want to see how you measure up. And it's not like this is like, oh my God, this is going to determine X, Y, or Z. It won't make a difference if these two teams somehow meet in the Stanley Cup Finals, that Winnipeg won this game. But I think it's definitely a point of pride that you want to have a good Saturday night national game, second national game, whatever that means. But the fact of the matter is that you wanted to have a good game. So I think, yeah, I was expecting both teams to come out and play hard, and I thought that's exactly what we got.
The Washington Capitals tie it up about 5 minutes later, just under 5 minutes later. Alex Ovechkin with a blast from the point, assist to Tom Wilson and Matt Roy. And again, not Connor Hellebuyck's best night. You would probably want this one back. I know it's an Ovechkin shot, but it's an Ovechkin shot from the blue line that he steps into, but albeit there's no real traffic in front. This is one I think it just handcuffed, Hellebuyck a bit. It was almost, I think he got surprised that it was a bit of a riser, that it was still sort of rising as it got to him. And as a result, he was only sort of able to glance it off of his shoulder and it got behind him. Nice for Ovechkin. I'm really not on board with his, passing Gretzky. I'm not as excited as a lot of other people might be about that. And
hold on a second. Why?
We had this conversation already.
We've had this conversation before.
Literally like a week, like 2 weeks ago, not even.
Yeah. It's just not worth rehashing. He's not my cup of tea. Great hockey player, fantastic hockey player. Not something that I'm cheering for. I can appreciate the skill required to get the number of goals that he's going to get. Doesn't mean that I have to be there rooting along for him and everything else.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you differ with me on this one, I'm fine with that. I'm probably in the minority, so be it. But
I'm not so sure you would be in the minority on this one. I don't really. I mean, we know you're not. We know you're in the majority here because I guess
you and I are on the same page on this one. Yeah. It's Ginsburg who's on the island.
Yeah.
I will repeat though, and I it's our show. I can say whatever I want. I will still repeat. No one will come close to Gretzky's points record. Yes, Ovechkin is going to have the goals, which is great, but no one will ever, and that goes for Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, whoever, whatever young phenom comes into the NHL. No one, that's a guarantee, will ever break Gretzky's points record. So yes, Ovechkin's going to have the goals record, but let's not forget that Gretzky is still the great one, and he always will be. No,
there's no question. But like I said, so I'm not rooting for him. I don't really care one way or the other. But
yeah, there you go. Anyways, he ties it up. He tied it up,
and it's like I see what you're saying, Drew. Like, there's no real traffic in front of the net. The shot is from, I don't know, 60, 70 feet away. It's a hard slapper. And I don't know. I like it's obviously easy for us to say that, that's a shot that you want to stop. But Alexander Ovechkin has done this 875 or whatever, 876 times in his career, right? So it was a bullet. But obviously, you didn't think that necessarily the Capitals had it in them to tie this game up, but they did.
I'm not surprised.
And it's a pretty good shot. Yeah, I wasn't surprised either.
Sorry, go
Drew,
ahead.
just quickly, I thought it was funny though, because they put the graphic up that Alex Ovechkin scored more goals against the Jets/Thrashers, and then I tweeted that out, and someone was like, "Well, wait a second, what are the actual numbers against the Jets versus the Thrashers?" Well, I think it was like 47 against Atlanta and 8 against Winnipeg, and now 9 against Winnipeg.
But can we also? Sorry, I know Remus has been all over this. I'm not sure if you guys talked about this last game, but can we agree that the real record is Howard-Chuck's record?
I'm so sick of this conversation.
But you agree though that that's the one that matters.
Of course it is.
I don't think any of them matter. I mean, I agree with you that it's stupid, but I'm so sick of it. The NHL is going to keep the records how they want to keep them. That's their prerogative. I mean, it's enough already. I get it. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm with you. I am tired of talking about it.
We all think it's illogical, so let's stop. Won't somebody think of the childrening about it anymore and just move on with it in the conversation?
I think the reality is it's not worth like getting worked up over. I mean, and again, on this show,
Dave, I like to get Drew worked up anytime I can.
No, of course, but we're on illegalcurve.com. We'd like to focus on, the Jets 1.0 and the Jets 2.0. So I like we talked about in the last post game show when I said Mark Scheifele hit 850 games, 25 away from surpassing Blake Wheeler and 101 from passing Thomas Dean.
Look at Tikona Pauly just chucking the $10 around.
Yeah, Tikona, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Between Tikona
Second time today, didn't he? No, Tikona was earlier, wasn't it?
Was it Tikona earlier? I thought, no, it was technical difficulties, also known as Spency, who did it earlier as well. But maybe Tikona did it in the morning show.
I know. I thought it was during the morning show.
$16.99, guys. I think we can buy some eggs with that money.
No, we can actually buy cords at work so we can actually give everyone audio.
Speaking of which, let me just take a bit of a sidestep for a second. I don't often do this, but I want to give a shout out to Memory Express on Route 90. After the technical difficulties that I had today, I went over there because that's where I bought my computer, and they worked with me to figure out the problem, and they had great customer service. So in this day and age,
is this a paid advertisement?
It is not. It's not a paid advertisement. You guys know that usually I'm only about the dollar bills, y'all. They did a great job, so I wanted to give them a shout out and the staff there for helping me make sure that I could get my troubleshoot my technological difficulties, and they did that. So
all joking aside, I also got my computer at Memory Express, and they're really good there. Like you go in there, there's a lot of staff. The customer service is really good.
Didn't I buy your computer for you?
Memory Express? No, I originally bought the computer at Memory Express, and then I
returned it.
Yeah, you had to go back and get me a better computer because the computer I bought, I got the cheapest computer, and then I was like, maybe I should throw a few more shekels on it.
This is why Ezzy's not allowed to do anything without his guardian, Dave Manu.
Yeah. Ezzy's a ward of the state. That's just so people know.
Yeah.
In any event,
Dave M's my handler.
Yeah. Game goes to overtime. And that's where Josh Morrissey steps up. Great rush by Josh Morrissey. Great pass to Scheifele. Scheifele with the pass back to Morrissey. And then one of the best celebrations of the year. Yes. In him sort of running off the ice, waving goodbye to the Capitals fans as they were lamenting the defeat at the hands of the Winnipeg Jets. It's also tonight's Seagram's shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
It's a fireball night. I don't know about anybody else, but given the state of the world, the good of the Winnipeg Jets, the bad of, basically everything else.
Manitoba Moose.
Well, the Manitoba Moose. I meant
water.
More off the ice bad today than on the ice, but it's a fireball kind of night. You got to feel the burn a little bit. So big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Josh Morrissey, he wins it for the Jets. 5-4. The Jets come away with the victory. An absolutely perfect road trip 3-0. They head out on the road. They go to Montreal. They beat the Habs. They go to Boston. They beat up on the Bruins. And then the main event of the road trip was tonight's game in Washington. It was going to be a successful road trip regardless of what happened tonight. But the Jets put that little cherry on top of the ice cream sundae, making it a perfect 3-for-3 on the road. 2 games to go before they break for the Four Nations tournament. Tuesday night, another heavyweight battle against the Carolina Hurricanes, and then Friday night against the New York Islanders. We'll be at City Place Friday, 12 noon. Join us there for a live on location edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. And speaking of which, the next live on location post-game show and watch party 3 weeks from tonight. The Jets' first game back after the Four Nations Cup is in St. Louis on Saturday night, February 22nd. We'll be live at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue for that game. So the last game, the Friday afternoon against the Islanders, will be at City Place at 12 noon. And then the first game after the Four Nations Cup, the Saturday night against the Blues at Boston Pizza. It's a Saturday night edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. That's going to be a fun one. So be sure to join us there as well on Friday, the 22nd of February. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, more on the Jets' victory over the Washington Capitals. Much more to discuss. Don't go anywhere. You were with us this morning. You're with us tonight. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Welcome back. Shortly before 10 o'clock in the evening, the Illegal Curve post-game show rolls on this Saturday night. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. The Jets 5-4 Spurs over the Washington Capitals. They wrap up the homestand, as we mentioned, with a perfect record. It's a final for the Moose in Chicago. We're not going to delve deep into this one. 6-0. The Wolves beat up on the Manitoba Moose. The struggles of the AHL team, unfortunately, continue as they do not have a successful road trip. I guess they won last night in Milwaukee, so that's good. But the other two games were defeats, and they cannot afford to go 1-2, given their place in the standings in the AHL.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dave M is obviously the Moose insider, but they don't have three of their best players right now in Parker Ford, Nikita Chibrikov, and Brad Lambert, right, Dave? So I think that's playing a big role in the fact that the Moose are struggling. I mean, they won their last game, but I mean that's three of your top scorers right there.
Yeah, no, they've lost 5 of their last 6. I mean, it's not good. And Chaz Lucius didn't play. Dan Fink, the play-by-play voice, said he was day-to-day. So we'll get an update when the Moose are back in town, which I guess they'll be back tomorrow. So we'll hear maybe from them. I would imagine they're off on Monday. So we'll probably hear from them on Tuesday. We'll get an update for everyone then. And I guess we'll have tickets to give away. I think they're playing next weekend, but I'm not entirely certain.
There you go.
I'll be at that game on Saturday, by the way.
Oh, there you go. That'll be fun for you.
Come say hi to me. I'll probably be stuffing my face with nachos, pizza, hot dog, whatever else I can get my hands on.
I have faith in your abilities to find other things.
You're a resourcely man.
Pierogies.
You're a man. You're a man who's willing to go the extra mile to ensure you continue to have back pain. So I have faith in your abilities to do that. Quickly, just that trade you mentioned, Ezzy. Dallas sends a first-round pick to the San Jose Sharks.
A third rounder too, I believe, Drew.
Yeah, it was more than just that. You're right. It was a first and a third. I think maybe there was a condition on the third, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's a isn't it not a fourth that upgrades to a third?
Something like that. It could be.
I think it's a first and a fourth, and the fourth upgrades to a third. But I don't know what the condition was.
I'm not sure what. Yeah, I think it's the condition was if they win the Stanley Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm assuming it's what we call the old Chevy condition.
Is it just me, or has Mikael Granlund been traded like 10 times in his career? Is that just me?
Like it has been. No, I think
it has been. Actually, here's the condition. It's a third-round pick that will convert to a fourth-round pick if the Stars fail to reach the Stanley Cup final.
There you go.
Okay, so assume it's a first and a third, or a first, whatever it is. Forget about just assume it's a first. To me, it's a big price to pay for two guys who aren't going to make significant differences in your lineup. I mean, when does Mikael Granlund really done anything on a good team?
He's a pretty good player, Drew.
He's been fine on San Jose, but when has he ever been a good player? When has he ever been a difference maker on a really good team? To me, it's just not worth a first-round pick. Cody Ceci at this stage in his career is depth as depth can be on your back end. Again, I just don't. I don't know why you strike so early.
This is a depth move. It's not. Yeah, it's not. Like I agree with what you're saying. A first-round pick is nothing to scoff at, Drew. You're right. I mean, that's a steep price to pay. What I think is happening here. We already talked about it, right, guys? The last 2 Fridays, you've seen the Mikko Rantanen trade. You've seen the JT Miller trade. I think teams are trying to get look. Mikael Granlund, like you said, Drew, he's having a good season for the Sharks. He had a good season last year for the Sharks. He's got 45 points in 52 games, Drew. So, I don't think. Look, I'm not saying Mikael Granlund is Alex Ovechkin. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you've already got Jason Robertson, Rupe Hintz, Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn.
Right, so where's he going to play in your lineup? I don't think he's going to play top 6. He's not a guy who's again.
No, you're fair enough. I don't have the answer to that. I don't know where exactly he's going to fit in the lineup, but I mean, he just makes a really good team even better, right? Look, Drew. I'm not saying Dallas. This trade is going to mean Dallas wins the Stanley Cup. I'm not. All of a sudden, I'm like the Dallas Stars trade defender here, but I'm just saying, I can see why if a guy like that's available. You jump on it now. Maybe the price is a little bit too high to pay, but I don't know. Granlund's a pretty good player.
I'd rather wait than spend your first round pick if you're going to be your.
Fair enough.
That's your trade deadline acquisition. I just don't know that excites me enough to do it so early and to give up a first round pick, in exchange for it, a first and likely to be a fourth. I'm going to assume. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I understand that early bird might get the worm and all that, but I think that the worm in this case was not quite delectable enough for the Stars to have done what they did.
It gives you an idea of what the Jets would have to give up to acquire similar players, right? Like we've talked about, that we expect the Jets to make some moves, possibly bringing in a second line center, possibly bringing in a top 4/top 6 defenseman, right, Dave? So it kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking at here, right? And, it remains to be seen when Chevy pulls the trigger on a move. But the way Vancouver is making these moves and the way other teams are making moves, like I wouldn't be surprised if Chevy gets in on the action in the next week or two.
Well, wasn't there a tweet about the Jets, about the Canucks not being done? I could have sworn I saw someone who is an insider of some sort.
Well, Elliot Friedman said today that they're not looking at trading Elias Pettersson for now. We'll wait and see what happens, but.
And I think he also said on the Saturday headlines that he also said that Calgary, had told people, stop calling about Kadri, stop calling about Anderson, stop calling about Uyghur. We're not getting.
That's just Jets fans.
Well, that's teams all around the NHL would want to acquire those players for a very good reason. In any event, as you can clearly tell, things are heating up on the trade market. Next Friday, of course, there'll be another blockbuster. That's how it works in the NHL now, which will work well because we're going to be on the air for the post-game show following the Jets and the New York Islanders next Friday. But before that, we'll be next in action on Tuesday.
Well, I'm just saying, what about maybe just the Islanders leave Brock Nelson? They just leave Brock Nelson and Winnipeg's Ryan Pulock. Maybe they just leave them here. I don't know. I'm just saying.
You're just saying, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I like what you're just saying nonetheless. Stirring things up. Stir up a little trouble nonetheless on this Saturday night edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. One without technological difficulties. So got a big smile on my face about that. Big thanks to all of you. This was a great day. It was a bit of an awkward day, but to celebrate 16 years of Illegal Curve, all in all, a great day. And that's thanks to everybody in the chat. So many of you were here. So many of you participating. So many of you liking, so many of you, subscribing, so many of you commenting, so many of you ringing the notification bell. We appreciate all of that action. Go one step further. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors, tell whomever you want in your life that the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and again on Saturday mornings, is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Big thank you to all of our sponsors. They make this show a possibility. Play Now, they're the title sponsor. Our friends at City Place and Seagram's, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, and of course, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club support all these fine businesses. Say it along with me, because they support Illegal Curve Hockey. IllegalCurve.com. It's got all your post-game commentary, post-game news, post-game audio. Check it out there. That's your number one stop for all things Winnipeg Jets related. We will be back on Tuesday night, right around 9:30, 9:40 after the Jets and the Hurricanes. They're heading home. They'll have a day off. They'll get ready for the Hurricanes on Tuesday night. We'll get ready there with you to bring you the latest on the Jets. Thanks to all of you for joining us. It's been a great Saturday. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Tuesday night, we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.